Good morning, everyone. My name is Mighty Stream, and I'm going to do your December the 13th spiritual principle a day in a meditation. I hope you're doing well this morning. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our H.O.O.D recovery services. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Let's go ahead and get into the meditation. Okay. The title of today's meditation is Individuality and Our Spiritual Awakenings. The ideal of a spiritual awakening takes many different forms in the different personalities that we find in the fellowship. Basic Text, Chapter 4, Step 12. Step 12 speaks of the spiritual awakening we have as a result of working the steps. By the time most of us begin our work on step 12, we typically have had any number of awakenings of a spiritual nature. Some awakenings might seem small, like recognizing an asset we've never noticed when we write our step 4 inventory. Other awakenings are more profound, like realizing how a handful of behavior patterns all trace back to a particular character defect we are just now coming to understand. As long as we keep moving through the steps, we will continue learning about ourselves. The basic text mentions that we differ in degree of sickness and rate of recovery. So it stands to reason that the types of awakenings each of us needs may be quite different as well. We all have our own stories, including how we got here and where we are going. Hearing others share about their awakenings can be inspiring and instructive. But having our own experiences, even if they differ from what we hear others share, is what really matters. If we wait to have the same experience we hear others share, we may be disappointed. Worse yet, we may miss what's happening in our own heart and spirit if we look only for what others have described to us, rather than seeing what we see for ourselves. The prospect of having a spiritual awakening that is truly our own can be both awe-inspiring and intimidating. While our awakenings may not be identical to anyone else's, the better we get to know the truth of our own experiences, the better we will be able to recognize the truth shared with others by fellow addicts. We are each on our own journey, but much of the terrain we cover is the same. The awakenings we experience in the steps may be different, but the message we carry is the same. I will honor the truth of my own awakenings, as well as those shared by fellow NA members. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. So many thoughts entered my mind when I said the wisdom to know the difference. That's why I paused there. So many thoughts. because sometimes I have to admit that I don't feel wise at all. I feel sometimes as though I'm guessing. And when you guess at things, it's sort of like a faith move, especially if you're a person of prayer. You may be waiting for an indication to do this or do that, but sometimes there's no perfect answer. And sometimes just making a decision is the work that the God of your understanding has for you to do, is to learn how to trust your instincts. So sometimes I don't feel like I'm so wise. I feel like I'm just, making the best decision. I was having a conversation with a lady, a female friend of mine in the program, and she was, sounding off, about her own life and some decisions she's faced with. And I remember saying to her, and this is related to this topic about spiritual awakenings and the individuality of it, because that's what this is talking about. You having your own spiritual awakening. And as she was sounding off about her decisions and why she was doing what she was doing, I realized in that moment that she needed some affirmation. She needed to be affirmed. She didn't need me to help her make the decision. She was already in the decision she had made, rather. And she needed to continue to stay the course. But I realized she just needed to be affirmed. And I don't know where this came from. I can just attribute it to the spirit of recovery, to the God of my understanding. But I said to her, you know, when you're a person of prayer and meditation, you'll find yourself in the middle of something and you will instinctually know the decision that has to be made. You will make it and you will walk it out. It sounds like to me your prayer life has prepared you for this moment. I don't see anything wrong with what you decided to do. Now you just need to stand your ground. And we went on to continue to have the discussion. And that's what I believe each person is looking for. They're looking to not always second guess themselves, not always doubt themselves, to have a relationship with the God of their own understanding, with their higher power that is certain enough and sure enough that they can move forward in life and not finding themselves landing topsy-turvy all the time, because it's the topsy-turvy emotions that come behind the things that we've done or said or decided to do that sometimes backs us up into a corner that we believe we can't get out of. I want you to have your own spiritual awakening. I want for you to know who and what your higher power is and how that relationship works. And then today, what I want for you to do is to not compare your spiritual awakening to that of others. Because if you're so busy looking for the spiritual awakening that Mighty Stream has had, you're going to miss your own. I'm not who you are. I haven't lived the life that you've lived. As it indicates, we all have our own journey. Now, some of the terrain that we cover is the same. But generally speaking, each person came into this world on their own, right? Generally speaking, we know someone assisted the birthing process, right? But you came into this world under different circumstances. My mother, when she birthed me, It was in the middle of a winter storm, first of all. I'm talking about waist high, waist, if not more. I'm talking about snow that would barricade your doors, right? She gave birth to me in a season where it was very wintry, a tundra, under duress. Um, she was not hospitalized with me, but they threatened to put her in the hospital if she did not get a hold of her stress level. Okay. So my circumstances coming into the world are different than, let's say, my eldest sisters. Okay. And all of that is saying that I'm an individual and so are you. But what goes on in the womb as you being knitted together and coming forth, right, is very important as to how you develop as a person. And a lot of that stuff that you had nothing to do with plays a part in the types of ways you respond to things. And as you develop a pattern of responding in a maladaptive way, oftentimes, we find that we want something else. Our body craves something else to soothe that process for us. And so maybe you didn't, maybe you weren't born an addict, but you became one. And so I'm saying that your awakenings that you have in recovery, there's going to be many. But the one that's spoken about in the 12th step is a lot different than all of the other ones that you have, right? Because the one in the 12th step, at this point, you've cleaned up the wreckage of your past, meaning you've made appropriate amends, you've forgiven people, and oftentimes you've been forgiven. You know who you are at this point, meaning that you understand your character defects and how they manifest, how they cause you to fall short, right? You see them and you become entirely ready for them to be removed from you. And you humbly ask your higher power to remove those shortcomings in step 7. You made a list of people you've harmed and with yourself on the list. And you made direct amends wherever possible, right? And then you make sure you live a clean life in the sense of emotionally clean by maintaining, right? Maintaining a step 10 daily that lets you know when you need to go back and clean something up promptly, right? And then through prayer and meditation, you maintain a conscious contact with your higher power and you understand what your higher power's will is for you. And you've been given the power and the strength to carry it out. So by the time you get to step 12, game on. It is like you are ready to carry a message that has substance to other individuals that are still suffering. And you're going to carry several messages before you get to step 12. But step 12 is spiritually profound, and I want for you to experience that on your own. I want you to have an individual spiritual awakening. Okay, family, I'm going to end it right there and take care of uh, myself this morning. I've enjoyed your company. I always do. I'm going to be talking to you soon. Have a beautiful December the 13th. Make it the best December the 13th that you've ever had. Live a purposeful life. Live an intentional life. Make some of the hard decisions so that you can bring and receive some of the beauty that your higher power has for you. Talk to you soon.